Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going from heartache to hope with A Journey from Heartache to Hope, a book we saw featured on TBN
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
The really cool thing about this book is it's co-authored by Chris Piorkowski and Mary Alice Lott. And they both have had wildly different experiences, but somehow both came together to write this book.
Yeah, it's interesting how their path converged like that.
Right.
Yeah.
We know Chris had a difficult upbringing, and he also supported his wife through her battle with cancer.
Right.
But with Mary Alice, we don't know the specifics of her struggles, but it's obvious that she's been through a lot.
Yeah, you can definitely feel it in her writing.
But despite these challenges, they both managed to transform their heartache into this message of hope, which I think is really amazing.
Yeah, and they don't just talk about it in this vague, inspirational way.
Right.
They give real, practical advice.
Especially Mary Alice in her afterword.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like she's created this toolkit for dealing with grief and loss.
Yeah, she really encourages readers to lean on their faith, find support groups, and she even mentions specific resources like the Grief Recovery Method and Celebrate Recovery.
I was really surprised to see her list specific resources.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
Instead of just saying like, oh, things will get better, she's giving people concrete steps that they can take.
Yeah, like she's saying, here's what helped me, and maybe it can help you too.
Exactly.
I also found it fascinating how she ties all of this practical advice back to her faith.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
She mentions that she created this list of 10 impossible prayers,
Oh, wow.
and that this very book that we're talking about right now
Yeah.
is an answer to one of them.
Oh, wow.
So that really piqued my curiosity. Like, what were the other 9 prayers on that list?
Right.
And how does this concept of impossible prayers play into the bigger themes of resilience and hope that are woven throughout the book?
Absolutely, because when you hear that, you start to think about, okay, well, what's the power of belief? And how can that belief help us to overcome challenges?
Yeah.
And then also, it kind of hints at the transformative power of actually writing and sharing our stories.
Because even for Chris, writing the book was actually part of his own healing process.
Right. And he actually mentions that in his afterword.
Yeah, and he uses this really vivid metaphor about jumping over mountains.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he talks about how important it is to see God as bigger than any problem that you might face.
Which is so interesting because it's almost like a reframing technique.
Totally.
Like instead of asking, how can I get over this? It's like, well, God can help me get over this.
Right, exactly.
And we see this in therapy too, like cognitive behavioral therapy, where reframing our thoughts can help us manage our stress and become more resilient.
It's like he's advocating for a complete mindset shift.
Yep.
Instead of focusing on the problem, we can choose to view those challenges through a lens of faith, and then maybe that helps us to find the strength to overcome them.
I mean, it's really all about perspective, right? Like if
Yeah.
you think something's impossible, it probably will be.
Right.
But if you can see the possibility, if you believe in something bigger than yourself, maybe those mountains won't look quite so big anymore.
Absolutely. And he also stresses the importance of never giving up, no matter how tough things get.
That's perseverance.
Yeah, personal.
And it's so interesting to see how that message plays out in his own life story.
Because his story is incredible.
It really is.
It's remarkable.
It's seriously like something out of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
This guy performed for Pope John Paul II,
Wow.
composed to the Boxing World Cup,
Wow.
and even worked on projects connected to Gene Roddenberry, like the creator of Star Trek.
That's wild.
I know.
You don't hear that every day.
And he's not like just a one-trick pony.
Right.
Like, he's a composer, a pianist, orchestrator, audio engineer.
Yeah, he's got this crazy range of musical talent.
And then on top of that, he also studied at Berklee College of Music
Oh, wow.
and the Audio Institute of America.
It makes you wonder how he had time for anything else.
Right.
Like sleep.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to a certain level of dedication and passion that you don't see that often.
It's truly inspiring.
And what I find even more impressive is that he did all of this while dealing with some serious personal challenges.
Yeah, that adds another layer to his message of resilience.
Absolutely.
Like his life is a real-world example of how creativity can thrive even when things are tough.
That's so true.
It makes you think about the power of art and music
Right.
as ways to process emotions and find meaning even when things are dark.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary Alice talked about her impossible prayers.
Right.
Do you think maybe there's a connection between facing those really tough challenges, those mountains, like Chris was saying,
Yeah.
and then being able to unlock some deeper level of creativity?
That's a really interesting question.
Like, maybe those obstacles are actually what push us to reach our full potential.
There is a school of thought that says creativity comes from struggle.
Really?
Yeah, that limitations can actually breed innovation.
Hmm.
And when you look at Chris's life, it
Hmm.
seems like his story kind of supports that.
Yeah, he didn't let his struggles hold him back. He
Exactly.
turned them into something beautiful.
And meaningful.
And that brings us back to what Mary Alice said about the second half of her life being more blessed than the first.
Oh, yeah.
It's like she's saying that after all those impossible challenges,
Right.
she actually came out stronger and more resilient.
And with a clearer sense of purpose.
That sounds a lot like post-traumatic growth,
It totally does.
where people experience positive changes after going through really tough times.
Yeah, it's not about pretending the pain didn't happen.
Right.
It's about recognizing that growth can come from those dark places.
So we have these two seemingly separate things going on, right? We have the afterwards that talk about faith and resilience.
Right.
And then we have this incredible biography
Yeah.
that shows us Chris's talent and perseverance.
But they actually work together.
Oh, yeah, they totally do.
Like the afterwards provide the background we need to really understand Chris's journey.
Yeah.
They show us that even someone who's achieved so much has also been through some really difficult times.
Right. And then Mary Alice's practical advice adds another dimension.
Oh, absolutely.
She's not just talking about faith in some abstract way.
Right.
She gives readers actual tools to work with.
It's all about giving people the power to take control of their own healing.
I think a lot of people are looking for that kind of guidance.
Yeah, something that you can actually use.
Not just inspiring quotes.
Right.
It's important to remember that Mary Alice's approach is really rooted in her faith.
Yeah. For her, surrendering to God is key to finding peace.
And even though Chris doesn't talk about specific religious things in his afterword,
Yeah.
the fact that he talks about seeing God as bigger than any problem shows us that faith is a big part of his life, too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting how faith can be a source of strength like that.
For some people, it gives them a way to make sense of suffering.
Yeah.
Or it gives them hope for the future.
It's like they know they're not alone.
Exactly.
They have that connection to something bigger.
And that can help them when things get tough.
But for someone who maybe doesn't share that same faith,
Right.
it might be hard to relate.
Yeah, it might seem abstract or irrelevant.
But I think the message is still there.
Definitely.
It's about finding that something that gives you hope.
Yeah, whatever that looks like for you.
Maybe it's your community or a creative outlet or even just being out in nature.
It's about finding those sources of support.
Yeah, the things that can help you when life gets rough.
And remember, resilience isn't something you're just born with.
Right?
It's something that you build over time.
You have to learn those coping mechanisms.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to ask for help when you need it,
Yeah, and find meaning in those experiences.
even the hard ones.
Even the hard ones.
I think so often we get caught up in trying to fix our problems.
Yeah, like just get rid of the pain.
Right?
But maybe that's not what resilience is about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more about learning to live with those challenges.
Yeah, to incorporate them into our stories
Exact.
and use them as a chance to grow.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
It's not about getting rid of the problem.
Right.
It's about transforming it. And, that's something that Chris and Mary Alice have both done.
Yeah, if you've taken their heartache and made it into something hopeful.
They haven't denied their pain,
No.
but they found meaning in it.
And they're using it to inspire others.
It's amazing what the human spirit can do.
It really is.
It's so resilient.
So what's resonating most with you from this deep dive?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
There really is.
But if you had to pick one thing, what would it be?
I think it's how much they both talk about the importance of having a good support system.
Oh, that's so true.
They talk about leaning on their faith, of course.
Yeah.
But also on their friends and family and people who've gone through similar things.
That's a beautiful observation.
It's like the core message of the whole book.
Yeah, finding strength and hope when things are hard, but not doing it alone.
You need those connections.
Exactly.
People who can lift you up when you're down, who can offer advice when you're lost.
And celebrate with you when you succeed.
I think that's so important, especially today when so many people are feeling isolated.
Yeah, it's easy to feel alone.
But Chris and Mary Alice remind us that connection is so important when we're facing challenges.
It's like they're saying, hey, life's tough, but you don't have to do it by yourself.
You've got people who care about you, resources that can help.
And you have your own strength, even if you don't realize it yet.
I love how their stories come together like that.
Me too.
They walked such different paths
But they ended up in the same place.
with this message of hope.
It's really powerful.
And then don't forget about Mary Alice's impossible prayers.
Oh, yeah.
She said that Chris was actually an answer to one of those prayers.
And the book itself, too.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she said that both Chris and the book were answers to 2 of those prayers.
Wow, so her prayers are really coming true?
They are.
That's amazing.
It really emphasizes the power of faith.
It makes you think that nothing is impossible.
And then she also says that she believes the second half of her life will be more blessed than the first.
Oh, wow.
Which reminds me of the story of Job in the Bible.
Yeah.
Where he loses everything, but then he's blessed even more.
That's some serious faith.
Yeah, it shows that even after going through tough times.
There's still good things to come.
Yeah, and things can always get better.
Don't lose hope.
That's the message.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, and for both of them, that hope comes from their faith.
They both talk about surrendering to God's plan,
And trusting that he'll be there for them.
even when things are hard.
It's amazing how their faith helped them through those challenges.
It really is.
It shows how powerful belief can be.
It gives you a place to stand when everything else is uncertain.
And it gives you a sense of purpose even when everything feels chaotic.
This deep dive has taken us on such a journey.
I know.
We started with a simple book,
Yeah.
and now we're talking about faith and resilience and the power of the human spirit.
It's crazy how these simple things can lead to such profound conversations.
I think that's what this show's all about.
Yeah.
Taking those seemingly ordinary things
Right.
and uncovering all the extraordinary things they have to offer.
We don't always realize the power that personal stories have,
But they can teach us so much.
and they can inspire us in ways we never expected.
Okay, speaking of inspiring stories,
Yes.
let's go back to Chris's biography for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
This guy has accomplished so much.
It's unbelievable.
It's like he's lived multiple lives.
Performing for the Pope, composing for Star Trek.
It's wild.
It shows how talented and dedicated he is.
And let's not forget,
Yeah.
he did all of this while facing some major challenges.
Right.
It just proves that success isn't about avoiding hardship.
It's about persevering.
That's a powerful message for our listeners.
It really is.
We all face obstacles.
But it's how we deal with them that matters.
Exactly.
It's about seeing challenges as opportunities.
To grow.
Yeah. And finding strength in our weaknesses.
And never giving up on your dreams.
no matter what.
Even when the path ahead is uncertain.
It's a call to action.
Yeah.
To be courageous, to be resilient.
And to believe in yourself.
I think that's a great place to end.
Okay, before we go,
Yeah.
what really resonated with you from all of this?
That's a tough one.
Was there a specific story or quote
Maybe a message.
that stuck with you?
Yeah.
You know, I think what stood out to me the most was how Chris and Mary Alice both talked about turning their heartache into hope.
That's beautiful.
Can you expand on that? It's like they're acknowledging that life is going to throw us some curveballs.
Yeah.
We're all going to experience loss and pain and disappointment.
But it's what we do with those experiences.
It really matters.
Exactly.
It's about choosing to rise above those hardships
and finding a purpose in our pain.
and then using our experiences to help others.
Who might be going through something similar.
It's like taking our scars and
Yeah.
turning them into sources of strength.
Turning our wounds into wisdom.
Exactly.
That's a powerful message.
And I think it can resonate with anyone.
No matter who you are or what you believe.
We all have the ability to transform our pain into something beautiful.
Something that can inspire others.
And I think that's the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive.
Yeah.
The power of the human spirit to find hope, even in the darkest of times,
To turn heartache into healing.
and to make a positive impact on the world.
Beautiful said.
As we wrap up this deep dive, you know, what's sticking with me?
What's that?
How Chris and Mary Alice had totally different paths,
Right.
but they both ended up
In this place of hope and resilience.
exactly.
Yeah, it shows there's no one right way to get through tough times.
Right.
You have to find what works for you.
And what really struck me was how much they both talked about sharing their stories.
Oh, yeah.
Not just for themselves, but to help others.
Right. Like, Mary Alice really emphasizes finding a support system.
Oh, yeah, she talked about how much it helped her to be part of support groups.
Yeah, to connect with people who get it.
To connect with people who understand what you're going through.
It's so important to feel like you're not alone.
And it's powerful how vulnerable she is.
Yeah, when we're open about our struggles.
It allows other people to do the same.
It creates a space for connection.
And empathy.
And don't forget about Mary Alice's impossible prayers.
Oh, yeah, right?
Chris and the book itself were answers to 2 of those prayers.
It's incredible.
It really is.
It shows how interconnected we all are.
Yeah, we can be there for each other in ways we might not even realize.
It's like we're all part of this giant tapestry.
Oh, I liked
And all the different threads, even the dark ones,
the ones that represent our struggles.
they all come together to make something beautiful
It's true, our challenges can make us stronger.
and help us appreciate life even more.
So as we finish up this deep dive into Journey from Heartache to Hope,
Yeah.
what's one thing our listeners can do today?
To build a better support network.
Or to support someone else who's struggling?
That's a great question.
It could be something small like calling a friend,
Or joining a group.
maybe just listening to someone who needs to talk.
Those little things can mean so much.
It's about being there for each other
Showing that you care.
and reminding people that there's always hope.
Even when things are tough,
And who knows?
maybe you'll be the answer to someone's impossible prayer.
Until next time, everyone.
Keep exploring, keep learning.
Keep diving deep.